Secondly, let me welcome the Vice Principals of Oasis International School, Mr. Abdul Aziz and Mrs. Lalita Karasi. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome, sir. Let me now welcome Ms. Smita Vimal, the Academic Coordinator of Oasis International School. Welcome, ma'am. Let me extend my warm welcome to Mr. Vaisak, the Activity Coordinator of Oasis International School. Welcome, sir. Presently, I deem it my great honor to welcome Dr. Gopal Surendran, Chairman, Adarsh Educational Trust, who has joined with us in this educational journey. Welcome, sir. Next up, let me take the pleasure of inviting Ms. Malini Venugopal, the Senior Principal and Advisor of Adarsh Schools, who is with us today to grace this event. Welcome, ma'am. Following that, I'd like to extend my hearty invitation to Mr. Venkateshwara Krishnan, Principal of Adarsh Vidya Kendra, Punarkulam campus. Welcome, sir. Now, let me invite our beloved Principal of Vedonimadam campus, who has been an inevitable part of all our successes. Welcome, sir. Now, I'd like to welcome Ms. KMC Kamarajani, the Cultural Coordinator and Head of Department of Social Science, on behalf of everyone here. Welcome, ma'am. It's indeed my great pleasure to invite our Head of Department of English, Mr. Ishwara Das, who has always been our navigator. Welcome, sir. Following that, let me extend my warm welcome to Ms. Kritika, the Program Coordinator, who has put endless efforts in guiding us. Welcome, ma'am. I also welcome the heads of departments, teachers, and students of both the schools. Hearty welcome to all. Now, let me invite our Honorable Chairman, Dr. Gopal Surendran, to felicitate the gathering. Please, sir.
Good morning, everyone, and greetings from India. It is indeed wonderful to be a part of this wonderful program. Like as Manju was saying, exchanging, collaborating is also a part of the learning process. And it is as a learning process, what I have found out when you interact with others, because I'm a doctor means doctor of medicine. So as a doctor, when you interact with your patients, it is a learning experience with every patient. And the past 2 years has been one of the biggest learning experiences for us, because what I found out as a doctor in 30 years of experience, it was my first experience to be a patient also. Because when I first contracted COVID along with the first wave, right when COVID first came out, it was another learning experience for me. And actually, it was another learning experience than being admitted to another hospital. Let's say being at the wrong side of the table. It was all a big learning, because I really felt what my patients would have undergone. So it has been a big experience, and being in another hospital for some time and another 30 days of quarantine at home. The 30 days of quarantine, I did not look at it as what do you say? I never looked at it as a punishment or a post sickness something. I literally actually enjoyed myself. I caught up on all my reading. I started going for walks. I saw a lot of movies. In short, it was a month. It was a very relaxing month for me, away from the hectic schedule which we follow, because handling education and health is not a joke, because health by itself is a handful, and when you add education to it, it becomes a different ball game altogether. Now, the thing is, when our principal Binu was telling me about this exchange program, I was very interested, because what I have learned is you're looking at another different culture, from a different land. The perspective of COVID or the expo or whatever, it is a perspective from a different view altogether. A perspective which will give you deep insight to what the world is really like. Because I always tell others, see, you must always, if possible, you must always travel. Whether you're traveling outside the country, whether traveling within the country, you must always travel. Come into touch with different cultures, come into touch with different cuisines, come into touch with different types of education. Because I always make it a point when I travel to, what do you say, to get in touch with the local people, to try out the local food, to know what is the basic culture there, what is the educational process, because they are all a contributive process to the learning curve. Now, these 2 years, I mean, let's say 2 years, has been a wonderful, not a wonderful, you can say it has been a period in which it has been, there is so much we have learned. As a doctor, I've learned new various types of new treatments, what we could do, what we couldn't do, what we shouldn't do. Then in education, we came across, when the online concept came up, how to go about it, how to refine the same process, and how to make the children sit in front of it. Because capturing a child's interest in a classroom is very different from sitting in front of a screen and doing it. So, but how we did it, and we all faced it. Everybody in the world, every living being in the world faced the aftermath of COVID. And it has been for a lot of people, it has been a very traumatic experience. For people like us, it has been a big learning experience. And for majority of the people, it has been an experience which I would pray that we do not have to go through it again. Because it taught us a lot. At the same time, it took away a lot. It gave us also knowledge. It took away near and dear. And this has happened throughout the world, not just in India, not just with us, whether it is in Dubai or India or England or any place. It never made a difference. It did not show any difference in caste, creed, color, nothing. It just went on a rampage and took away everybody. And whatever we know is the normal. And the world as such has come back to, is slowly coming back to normal. But normal, you would say, on the new terms and conditions. Because whatever we do, whatever we have gone through, after the bitter experience of the past 18 months, I wouldn't say that the world will go back to normal very easily, or what we once knew as normal. Maybe there is a difference, and we must be prepared for that. And we have to learn from every culture, every country, because everybody has devised their own way of combating this invisible virus. Because as you all know, I mean, you will look at a point where they say that it's a virus, it causes disease and all that. But there is another viewpoint which you might find very strange. A virus is a very beautiful piece of organism. You put it under an electron microscope, you take a structure of the virus, it's a very beautiful structure. For a simple thing is, it is a very simple organism. You either find a strand of RNA or you find a strand of DNA with a nucleic capsid. You will not find anything else there. It is very, very interesting to watch. But this microscopic thing, the amount of trouble it can cause, because there are good viruses also, there are bad viruses also. But whatever the virus is, the amount of trouble it can cause is unimaginable, as we all came to know. And it was a bitter learning experience, yes. And I hope this interaction today among our children, among our cultures, among our countries, will bring forth a fruitful and a more collaborative way of learning, so that what we all learn from this pandemic is that every country has to work together wherever we are. Because I was in touch with a lot of my classmates, friends who are all doctors throughout the world. And in every day of treating COVID, we all came into touch with, we all learned from each other. What they did, what America did, what England did, what Europe did, what India did. So it has all been a learning experience. So let us lay a base where our children interact, where the new generation interacts, and let them come out. Let's see what the innovations and solutions they come up, so that we will gain more insights, that our next generation may be enriched. They will not have to face the problems or the differences that the elder generation is facing. Anyway, it has been wonderful to be all with all of you. And I hope to sit with you for some time, but unfortunately, I'm in the middle of my outpatient in the morning. So anyway, let me see what I can do. Anyway, thank you for having me. And it is wonderful to be in touch with all of you. I hope that we do many more programs like this together. And I also look forward to having the children from Dubai, having them with us physically sometime, so that we can really understand what the world is all about. Let's make this world a smaller place to live. That is what should be our motto, so that we can all like John Lennon once wrote a song, imagine if there are no borders, or imagine if there are no countries. So let's think on those lines. Anyway, thank you very much, and thank you for having me here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom. Now, let me invite the principal of Oasis International School, Mr. C.K.A. Anna, for a few words. Please, sir.
Good morning once again, Dr. Gopal, Chairman, and Senior Principal Smalini, and other dignitaries. Very happy. As Doctor said, that it is a new experience of collaborating and cooperating one another. See, yesterday, students of Oasis International School presented a seminar on Expo 2020, World Expo it is. I also want to extend our hearty welcome to these team members to the UAE, especially to the World Expo. It is really a wonderful experience will be a wonderful experience for everyone of us. And we heartily invite you, hearty welcome to all of you to the World Expo, and we invite you once again to visit our school too. As Doctor mentioned here, we should have many more aspects of collaboration in future too. Thank you very much, Doctor, and Senior Principal Ms. Malini. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Today we have got Flag Day for the UAE. That's why I will have to leave, because flag hosting will be there and we will have to take photos, videos, everything, and we have to send it. I may leave in between. All the best for the program. Thank you.
Thank you for your invitation, sir. We are humbled. So, it's time for the presentation. Here is Mohammed Anik Zadeh to initiate the program.
Thank you, Manjupriya. I'm very happy to initiate this program. India has witnessed many natural disasters. This present day, we are experiencing a massive cosmopolitan disaster, the COVID-19. It has drastically changed many of our lives. The COVID-19 had created a long-lasting impact in our country. The pandemic created a great depression in the Indian economy sector. GDP growth was reported to be declined by 23.9% post first lockdown, which was one of the highest decline since the Indian independence. India's GDP shrank to 7.3% in 2020 to 2021. The restrictions due to the second wave has severely affected the business, tourism industry, and many other industries such as airlines, cruises, etc., and mostly the service sector that includes salon, restaurants, etc. The Indian hotel industry was taken a tremendous hit of rupees 1.3 lakh crore. The unemployment rate, which was already a concern in the country, has also significantly increased. We humans are sources responsible for economy, and our health is particularly important for our daily tasks. It is no doubt that COVID-19 had created a huge devastation in the health of common citizens. Patients affected with the disease are reported to have protracted symptoms such as coughing, high fever, and extensive symptoms of fatigue. Generally, senior citizens have higher risk of extreme complications. Besides these effects, COVID-19 has also brought about other health issues such as anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Did COVID-19 have only negative effects? Not really. Environment should be given time to replenish itself so that natural disasters could be minimized. It's a bitter truth that we humans have not given that time. Due to the lockdowns that were imposed, environment got little time to replenish itself. Let us hope that soon we can get back the fun of sharing food with our friends. Subhashni is here to give us a deeper idea on the impacts of COVID-19.
Thank you, Anik. Since Anik has already given us a trivia about the impacts, I would like to start with elaborating the educational sector. Since the educational institutions were closed, even though the implementation of virtual learning was successful, many students were struggling to obtain the gadgets which is required for online classes. We students, as well as teachers, were not able to adapt to the virtual learning immediately. Moving on to social life, as you all know, lockdown had thrown many people to the throes of loneliness because we are not able to interact with people, which is very important to our mental well-being. Even I was affected by COVID. I too know about the pain, suffocation, and the uncontrollable emotions. But a big thanks to technology because we are able to interact through social media. Even if it is not like physical interaction, it didn't make us to feel sad or lonely, right? Moving on, let me tell you about the several measures taken by the Indian government to reduce the impact. I would like to emphasize about the collar tune. Our government had released COVID-19 focused collar vaccine, which had been developed by UNICEF India for MOHFW, which says that the vaccines developed in India are effective against the disease, and it also urges people to trust the vaccine and not to believe in any kind of rumors. Our government had also provided laptops and internet to the poor people, and they have also launched Pradhan Mantri Galib Kalyan Insurance Scheme for the frontline workers in order to support them, and the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology launched a smartphone application called Arogya Setu and COVID-19 feedback. There are several other Indian apps which helped us to fight against COVID-19 are Sahyog, My Government, Kova Punjab, COVID-19, and Arogya Setu. Let me move on to the role of mass media. Use of media in public health communication, drawing on media messages used in health crisis, diffusion of false information about COVID-19 through the media, and the factors that could contribute to compliance with health recommendation to avoid the spread of disease. Moving on to the Indian technology innovation developed during COVID-19 are, most of you would have not known about it, so let me discuss it. First one are Corona oven, which can sanitize any surface within 4 minutes. Vista, it's nothing but an air purifier. Milagros Eagle, it's a cleaning robot, and Dossi. I would also like to add upon the innovations which made India self-reliant in tackling the COVID-19 are screening and diagnostic test, Anapath, sanitizer tunnels, CoviSafe, it's a transporting system, and wearable RFID wristband. In a nutshell, I would like to say that we were just hooked up in a situation in which we were not familiar with, but now everything is getting back on track. Now let me invite Harshini to elaborate about how well is India prepared for the third wave.
Thank you, Subhashni. So a lot of people have questions about the third wave. That's why Darren and I have gathered a bit of information to see how exactly India is planning to survive the third wave. But before we do that, we'd have to assess how India dealt the first and second wave. To be honest, I think India handled the first wave really well, but the condition wasn't that great at first. India had one of the highest cases of COVID in the world, but even when it was led to a dark spot, it managed to get itself back up in just a few months. This was because the government made it mandatory for the people to follow the rules and precautions. These included wearing masks, sanitization, and social distancing. But after the condition became a bit normal in a few months, We let our guards down and we thought we were okay. But that's when the second wave occurred. This wave was actually a bit different than the first wave, a lot different actually. We had to deal with new diseases and new problems. Again, India was struggling to keep up, but that's when the government brought in new rules for the people to follow. We had 24-hour lockdowns and vaccines were brought into play. That's how India managed to get over the second wave. I'm not trying to say that India is as developed as Japan or China or even Korea, but it has the capacity to fix and improve its current conditions. That's why I think India has better chances of survival this time. So some of the major precautions include work from home policies, vaccinations, social distancing, sanitization, and masks. So again, the final question comes up. How well is India prepared for the third wave? I would say it has prepared amazingly well and that India has better chances of survival this time. But then again, we can't just base India's survivability on this. So I'd like to call Darren to explain what I'm talking about. So Darren, please.
Thank you, Harshni. The government has been working. Thank you, Harshni. The government has been working tirelessly since the second wave to ensure that we are prepared for the third wave. Preparations such as expansion medical infrastructure, increasing the number of beds, ventilators, and so on. The government made it compulsory to wear masks when traveling somewhere. Movement was reduced and intermingling was restricted. Vaccination drive was expanded from the ages 18 and above. So with all these measures in place, we should be prepared, right? Well, let's take a look at the numbers. Just 24.1% of India's population has been fully vaccinated as of October 31st this year. And 31% of senior citizens have been fully vaccinated as of August 27th this year. The number of beds is half for 1,000 people in the public healthcare system and 1.4 per thousand if private healthcare is included, as per Economic Times. India has only 8.6 doctors per 1,000 people. 40% of India's population is under the age of 18 and vaccination for them hasn't started yet. The rural population of India is 65% of the population, but only 31% of the total beds are available in rural areas. It can be inferred from the above numbers that our medical infrastructure is not adequate for the third wave. And apart from the already vaccinated population, we still have people who are under the age of 18, senior citizens, and people who live in rural areas in great danger. The government expanding the medical infrastructure. COVID is not leave many residual effects even after the patient has long recovered. These effects can be both physical and psychological. So is our current medical infrastructure equipped to handle this third wave? Well, the figures above show that we still have a long way to go to prepare for a third wave. The government is doing everything possible in order to prepare for a third wave, and their emergency response health system preparedness package is being effectively used. Keep in mind the challenges are tough and many. The government is doing everything possible to prepare for the third wave. But it's a long-term process. There aren't any quick fixes. So the major chunk of the responsibility lies only in the hand, squarely on the shoulders of each and every individual. Now I'd like to invite Tiffany. Sorry, are we prepared? Yes, but are we prepared well? We still have a long way to go for that. Now I'd like to invite Tiffany to talk on the origins of COVID.
Thank you, Darren. How did the ailment castigate India? The story starts with the first case of COVID-19 reported in Kerala. On January 27, 2020, a 20-year-old female with a one-day chronicle of dry cough and sore throat. She divulged that she had returned to Kerala from Wuhan City, China on January 23, 2020, with a COVID-19 outbreak situation there. Slowly, with her recognition, she turned up to people, and this is where the main course of action began. So how to spread all over India, people, as usual, migrated interstate and interstate, which became a main root cause for COVID-19. Subsequently, the number of cases popped up. In order to spread the virus, the Government of India, the Ministry of Health, and the Family Welfare got hold of some ideas to stop the lethal erection. As of May 8, 2020, Gujarat, Delhi, and Maharashtra were hotspots for COVID-19. in order to stop the transmission of virus, the government implemented a 65-day lockdown, which stops the transmission of the virus. The lockdown and isolation both also made a wrong path to mental and physical health. The parents were trained with the pathology ASD. They have a hard time managing it normally, and I'm sure that the COVID-19 has traumatized them. COVID-19 got a script and it's fear, but it also had the fear war with the Newlands. Now I proceed to talk to Mr.
Thank you, Tiffany. As Tiffany said about the origin of corona in India, we people understood that the origin of this virus is not like other viruses that originated in India. Well, COVID as a disaster. India has appeared with its deadliest disaster, but not one lethal as the COVID-19 or coronavirus. India has witnessed lots of natural disasters, but the impacts of that disaster were not like this cosmopolitan disaster. This disaster has shown the people a new way of life which people of India has never experienced before. The COVID-19 outbreak has brought our lives to a standstill and has confronted the entire world with a crisis like ever before. It is one of the deadliest crises the world has faced over the years. This virus has taught us a lot of things such as value for money, life, education, etc. This virus has shown us the real heroes and who they are. They are not the people we see in television. They are the people who we hesitate to respect. They are the doctors, nurses, domestic workers, and the numerous NGOs. Lot of people who spend their own money and time to help the suffering people. They offered whatever services they could. They supplied food materials, clothes, medicines, and even transported the COVID patients to the hospitals. It is their kindness which make us think them as heroes. So we should understand that this is not the ordinary disaster that occurs frequently. It is something far more than that. It is an extraordinary disaster. This virus has made the whole of India into trouble, but we somehow overcame from that by the frontline workers. So we should honor them for saving our lives. So be fast, have no regrets. If you need to be right before you never win. Keep this in mind and fight against Corona. The next presenter, Sridevi, is here to honor the real heroes.
Thank you, Mithun. Not all superheroes wear capes. Some wear scrubs, said by T.K. Life before COVID-19 was not the same. Even life after COVID-19 was also not the same. As Mithun Nagendra said, the people in the film industry are not the real heroes or heroine. They are just for acting. Then who are our real heroes? Yes, you guessed it right. They are doctors, nurses, technicians, ambulance drivers, cleaners, pharmacists, and even the volunteers. The COVID-19 is one of the deadliest crises the world has faced over years, with numerous businesses across the world having had to pull their shutters and most countries being under lockdown. The economy has taken a severe hit, forcing everyone to fight the pandemic in the best way they can. Lockdown and social distancing has emerged as a new norm, and most of us enjoy the privilege of staying at home and staying safe. However, in the wake of this unpredictable calamity, the medical community, including doctors, nurses, technicians, ambulance drivers, and pharmacists, are the true warriors who are fighting this disease on the front line and putting their own lives at risk for keeping us safe. They will give everything to uphold their job responsibilities, even at the cost of cutting themselves off from their families and loved ones. Healthcare workers are sacrificing their own lives in the line of duty. Doctors, nurses, and many others in the healthcare sectors have donned the role of brave medical army fighting against coronavirus, standing strong with thermometer, stethoscope, and ventilators as their weapons. Indian government has taken a lots of initiative for ensuring the safety of the healthcare workers, such as under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan package, the government has announced an accidental insurance cover of rupees 50 lakh for 22.12 lakh healthcare workers who may be drafted for the service of COVID-19 patients. All such professions who signed up for minimum of 100 days of COVID-19 duty and completed it successfully will be given Prime Minister's Distinguished COVID National Service Samman from the Government of India. The prevalence of stress, anxiety, and depression within the frontline healthcare workers caring for COVID-19 patients is so high. So therefore, the Indian government has given a dedicated helpline for providing psychosocial support for the healthcare workers. Healthcare workers are also being tested for COVID-19 frequently to ensure their safety. According to the results published by WHO, 1,150 healthcare workers have died during the COVID-19 till date all over the world. Do you know why these many pure souls are losing their life even after lots of protection given by the government? Yes, it's all because of ourselves. We are not following the protocols given by the government. The protocols given by the government is very simple and very safe. They are wear a double layer mask, maintain social distancing, get vaccinated as soon as possible, and wash your hands frequently. Do you know by following these simple protocols, it can also save a life. Therefore, I would like to say that staying at home can also make you a real superhero. Over to you, Della.
Hi everyone, I am Dilla to talk on who are real heroes regarding COVID-19. What if you're lying on the bed among thousands of patients who are suffering from COVID? People cough, they vomit, they have chest pain, headache, and many more symptoms. I felt distress when my mother fell ill and a couple of my relatives died. It was a grief-stricken movement. The only thought that would have struck their mind was, is there any chance of survival? Is there anybody who can save us? And that is why we have our life-saving superheroes, doctors and nurses. In this pandemic, doctors and nurses have become notable. Despite the risks in life, they have come forward to provide life-saving support and protection to the people who are lying on the deathbed. Their life-saving nature to help people irrespective of their status has made them a superhero. Although they have their families at home, doctors and nurses are doing their best to cure the sick and unite every family. COVID-19 has unveiled an important number of vulnerabilities as well as exposed our weaknesses in preventing shocks. It has also shown that the magnitude of challenge is exceeding the response capacity of any single partner or country. It represents one of the most dramatic calls to work together. The success of this battle greatly relies upon learning experience and remaining committed with high humanitarian values. Our real-life heroes are already giving the example. COVID-19 might be today's supervillain, but it does not deter our real-life heroes from doing their job and tirelessly working to find ways to combat the threat and eventually beat the invisible nemesis. We mourn the thousands who have lost their lives to the virus across the globe. Albeit many doctors and nurses have lost their lives too, we Indians are proud of their sincere service. COVID-19 has taught us numerous lessons. It has taught us how people can help each other with the role of healthcare and many more. Let the faith of our doctors and nurses stay in our hearts. Their efforts must not be overlooked or forgotten. Here, I would like to quote that people pay their doctors for curing their trouble, but for his kindness, they still remain in his debt. Let us salute all our doctors and nurses for their great deeds. Here, dear friends, we have a short video clip on India sings a new anthem of health to support our presentation.
लगाया क्या? चल हाथ बढ़ा और साथ सभी के चल दे,
एक टीके से बन जाए बात समझ ले,
परिवार साथ मित्रों को शामिल करके लड़ जाएंगे टीकाकरणों के दम पे। ओ ये जो ढाल सी है वो कमाल सी है, संजीवनी आई यहाँ। टीका लगा तो जरा टीका लगा, जब अपनी बारी आए टीका लगा, टीका लगा तो जरा टीका लगा, तो जरा टीका 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 लगाया क्या? कर अपना भला अपनों का भी होने दे, जब टीका हो भारत के हर कोने में, सब ठीक ठाक हो जाएगा जल्दी से,
लड़ जाएंगे टीकाकरणों के दम पे,
इतना करोगे तब ही कहोगे आजाद ये होगा जहां। टीका लगा तो जरा टीका लगा, जब अपनी बारी आए टीका लगा, टीका लगा तो जरा टीका लगा, तो जरा टीका 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 टीका
लगाया क्या?
Here comes Shivani to summarize the lessons that we have learned from COVID-19.
Thank you, Della. From the 19th century, our mankind has started its journey towards development. And in this path, we've gained a lot with certain substandard values like selfishness and greed, which had emerged out of nowhere. And now came the pandemic, which has taught us all. Our reckless activities against the nature have now come to a pause. We, who were overornate with work, were taught the bliss of family life. We, who were only minded about our development, were taught to love the nature. The pandemic has put us all into bars and the animals on the loose, teaching us the pain of being confined. The economic crisis has taught us that even a limited amount of money in hand will do. The deaths happening every day has taught us the importance of life. Though we've all enjoyed a great time with our families, we were kept away from our friends and thus have learned the emotions behind friendship. The pandemic has taught us to be together but away. It has made us realize the extent to which technology can work. Online education success was recognized by the people because of the pandemic. There's a say, heaven is under our feet as well as over our heads. And at last, we have realized this in our life. The nation has now come to know about the sector where improvement is needed. COVID has also given us a better understanding about the dedication and charisma of our leaders, and thus has given us a path for a better future. We have learned what is humanity, we have learned what is loneliness, and so does the list go on and on. On a whole, COVID has taught us a new way of life by throwing a lot of barriers towards us. Now it's all in our hands to maintain and enrich our lives with what we have learned. Let's make ourselves better for a better future. And now I would like to pass on the stage to Jabisha, who is here to elaborate on the topic, role of education before COVID and post-COVID. Please take over.
Thank you, Shivani. A very good afternoon to everyone present here. Today, I'll be talking about how education was before and post-COVID. First, let me give a small introduction on what I'll be talking about. The COVID-19 pandemic affected people regardless of their religion, nationality, level of education, age, gender, and income. Educational institutions had mainly been affected by COVID, which led to the government to take precautions by closing schools, college, and universities. Due to the increase in rise of COVID cases, reopening schools became a huge risk to be taken. Now, let's see how education was before COVID. Students worldwide could communicate, interact, and socialize before COVID. But in the present time, due to social distancing, there has to be some precautions taken, right? Before COVID-19, students had access to all the study materials and resources needed for learning. But in the present time, we see that not all students are able to have the access to the study materials and resources for online classes, like iPad, computer, phones, and laptop. Study shows that due to isolation, many students and even little children fall into depression. With the help of new technology, many businesses and institutions are able to have communications and discussions through video conferencing and webinars, etc. Whereas before COVID, it was done mostly through emails and phone calls, etc. Now let's see how education was after COVID. Due to closure of schools and colleges worldwide, many education institutions had started online classes for students through the means of online classrooms, TV and radio programs, etc. Online platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams have been very useful during these pandemic times. Not only do they help us in our education, but they also keep in touch with our loved ones and family. Teachers who were all experts in Blackboard, books, and classroom teaching are really new to this digital learning, but they're adapting to the new methods and handling the situation like a pro. Educated parents are able to support and help their children in their studies and also guide them. They also help them in their child's physical and mental life. Whereas there are some parents out there who are unable to help their child's physical, mental, as well as educational life. But they try their level best to do good for their children. There's always a delay or cancellation of exams, which leads to frustration and confusion for many of the students. Thus, I can conclude by saying that COVID-19 has surely had a major impact on the education system and has changed many of our lives. Over to you, Sarvada.
Thank you, Jabisha. Hello, everyone. I'm in here to speak about what measures that we can take to uplift the COVID-affected people, the economy, the educational system, and the society. Before starting off, I would like to specially pay homage to the loved ones that we lost during the pandemic. Reflecting back, 2020 wasn't just the start of a new year, but literally no one had any idea that it was also going to be the beginning of the apocalypse, the deadly coronavirus. So I have prepared a list of measures that we can take to uplift the lives of the COVID-affected people. Number 1, no one should suffer without shelter. Imagine how miserable it would be to be homeless, especially during this COVID. I hope that these pictures could illustrate the disparity which is being faced. I have an idea to avoid this. We can create free care centers where the poor and the homeless people will be sent. Moving on to my second suggestion, that is education. Still in many schools, online classes aren't held properly. In our school, Adarsh, we are using Microsoft Teams, which is a highly professional platform. But think about government schools. They tend to teach through WhatsApp, Zoom, and other unproductive apps like the Google Meet. And even now there are schemes like the Kalvi Tolekachi, in which different channels telecast different programs. Now, the major drawback of these systems is there is no tracking. So, to mitigate all of these, the IT ministry can build a free open source platform which is accessible to every student. Secondly, the government can also provide free tabs to every student who is incapable of getting gadgets. So this particular tab will be an unique product because the students will have access to only that specific educational app that they are using. Moving on with my third suggestion, that is sanitization. We must strictly prohibit the idea of stepping out of the house without mask, surgical gloves, and protective socks, because since our fingertips and toes are also exposed, covering only the face isn't efficient. And people should really know how to wear a mask. It's not meant to cover the part of our chin. It's properly meant to cover the most sensitive areas like the nose and the mouth, just as shown in this picture. Now, another suggestion of mine is that self-sustainability. Now, what I mean by self-sustainability is that being able to maintain ourselves even during this crucial period of COVID-19. The first step is to identify the most vulnerable people. And these vulnerable people can be formed as a self-help group. For example, many children would have become orphans, right? And even women would have become widows. So all these vulnerable people can be formed as a group and they can help each other, which ultimately performs self-sustainability. They can manufacture their own N95 masks, liquid sanitizers, surgical gloves, etc. In that way, they can generate their own income. So friends, even when all those listed measures are strictly followed, eradicating this deadly virus is a big deal. That is why this corona outbreak is named as a pandemic and not an epidemic. And yesterday, when I was preparing for today's event, coincidentally, I heard this song. Edavum kadanda pogum, edavum kadanda pogum. So the lines Edavum kadanda pogum, meaning this too shall pass, really matches with the situation that we are in. I hope that the lines Eduvum Kadanthu Pogum ignite an optimistic spark and hope in ourselves that together all of us can overcome this COVID-19 crisis very soon. So now I'm ending my talk by conveying my special thanks to all the frontline workers and the governments for their wonderful contribution. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarvada. Dear friends, it's time for the open forum. We request you all to shoot out your questions.
Good morning, all. I am Avantika, and I have a question. How far India is successful in dealing with COVID-19 in rural areas? How far India is successful in dealing with COVID-19 in rural areas?
We have had several rural camps in which medical camps have been set, and a lot of students and even parents or the elder ones have been accessed. So we have been successful in vaccinating many.
Good morning. So, my question is, India has been in the lockdown for several months due to COVID-19. So, how does India manage the students' education in during this time?
They manage it through the online classes.
So, I'll repeat the question. India has been in the lockdown for several months due to COVID-19. How does how does India manage the students' education during this time?
They conducted online classes and many all-round support given by the government.
Good morning. The presentation was quite a nice one. I have a question that there is a news of a third wave in the COVID-19. Why are there so many waves coming up? Why are there so many waves appearing one after another in India?
Yeah, that was really a nice question. But even when one country is completely cured of this virus, other countries are there, right? So maybe from there they might spread, and sometimes it's the country's fault, sometimes they might not follow it properly, but still a virus can't be completely cured, right? And like for example, coronavirus it's a virus, right? A virus can multiply, so because of multiplying it can also cause new diseases, and because of this there are a lot of problems, right? We can't just cure it in just a limited time. So that's why I hope this answered your question.
Thank you.
Good morning. I have a question. Could you please kindly brief of child vaccination program in India?
For children below the age of 18, they haven't started vaccinations yet in fear of side effects. but that's going to change as they're working on a vaccine for children and people under.
Thank you.
A very good afternoon to everyone. We really liked your presentation. So I just have a question that recently Indian Premier League, also known as IPL, was hosted by UAE. Why? Are they not confident about their precaution? How can they manage their tourism?
Yeah, the first IPL was actually divided into two phases due to the COVID-19 situation. First phase happened in India, and suddenly there was a rise in cases. Not very high, but there was a slight rise in cases. So Indian government didn't want to take the chance. So UAE government welcomed us. UAE government actually welcomed us. Like, we did not force them or we did not do anything to them. UAE government last year also UAE government welcomed us to host IPL in UAE. This year also BCCI has consulted the UAE cricket board and they had welcomed us. And you all know UAE, the governments are like the grounds were very neat, and then many precautions was there. Vaccinated people only were allowed. Many precautions were taken. So yeah, it was very nice. I hope your question is answered.
Yes, but I want to clear the tourism. Tourism, how are they going to control it? Because there is a great loss in that as well. But compared to UAE, they are hosting now the World Expo 2020. So how confident can be India in the upcoming years or now? How can they assure the people to invite them?
Like many people are like vaccinated, so like now majority of the population are getting vaccinated, and soon kids are also going to get vaccinated. So I guess after a few time, like, it won't be a trouble at all. Even tourists come, all tourists are having many restrictions as well. No tourist or no one can enter simply or go out simply. Like, they have many restrictions. They have to get vaccinated. They have like COVID tests, like COVID reports should be submitted. Many things are there. So I don't think it creates a problem.
Okay, thank you. We wish a very best of luck to India to host the countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excuse me. Question and answer session has come to an end. Thank you for your active participation.
We have some more questions. Just one question. Just one.
I'm very sorry, but as we are tight of time, I hope you understand.
Okay, then fine.
No. Thank you so much. Very well, we've come to the concluding part. It's very incomprehensibly evident that India has shown its unity and solidarity on facing the COVID-19 menace. The government, the central, and the different state governments have taken unforeseen effort in this crisis.
I would like to ask.
People of different walks of life, forgetting their caste, creed, and color, put their hands together. India, the largest democracy in the world, with 138 crores of people, stood forgetting the differences. India has successfully vaccinated more than 100 crore of the citizens. It has improved its medical infrastructure and is now capable of vaccinating 1 crore people a day, as announced by our Prime Minister Modi. Under the strong leadership, anything is possible. India, a nation known for its long tradition and cultural values, demonstrated to the world its resoluteness and steadfastness time and again. Yes, much is done, and yet much has to be done. Let's walk the distance together with our heads held so high. Now it's time to thank everyone.
So please give time.
Sure, ma'am. Yes, now you may ask your question.
Why did India choose to make their own vaccine while other countries have already established it? And like, what makes India's vaccine special?
I would like to answer your question. Because we are confident in ourselves and we will be successful in implementing our own vaccines.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vaishak. I think it's time for us to wind up because we have Flag Day celebration at 11 o'clock and we have to hoist the flag. Can we wind up the session, Ms. Ritika?
Sure, ma'am. Now it's time for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you, Aisha.
Thank you all
Thank you
for
so
being
much.
a part of our seminar. Let's wait until we meet again for yet another amazing program. Thank you.
We are extremely
you.
looking
Bye.
forward for everyone to meet. Thank you.